Canadians spend over $4 billion a year on processed meat. Bacon is the centerpiece of that habit. The pack you grabbed last week at the grocery store, the one with the Maplewood imagery and the words naturally smoked across the front, contains water you are paying meat prices for. A preservative the World Health Organization has linked to cancer. And a sodium load that hits a quarter of your daily limit before you have finished breakfast. Today, we are naming 11 supermarket bacon brands in Canada to avoid, and after that, 3 that are actually worth your money. Number 11. Great value. Walmart's house brand bacon sits at the bottom of the freezer section, and the price is why most people grab it. At around $5 to $6 for a 375-gram pack, it looks like the smart choice when groceries are eating your paycheck alive. But open the package, and the first thing you notice is how thin the slices are. Not thin in a deliberate, artisan way. Thin in a way that tells you the manufacturer is stretching every belly as far as the blade will go. The fat-to-meat ratio is heavily skewed toward fat. In a Narcity taste comparison of Canadian grocery store bacon brands, Great Value was noted for exactly that, excessive fat and paper-thin slices. Cook it and the strips shrivel to roughly half their raw size. That shrinkage is not just fat rendering out, it is water leaving the product. Water that was injected during processing, and that you paid bacon prices for by weight. The ingredient list confirms it. Pork, then water, then salt, then sugar, then sodium phosphate, a chemical specifically used to help the meat retain that injected water so the package weighs more at the checkout. Then sodium erythorbate, then sodium nitrite, then smoke. Every one of those additives is doing a job, but the job is not making better bacon. The job is making cheaper bacon look and weigh like more expensive bacon. At $5 for a package that cooks down to a few sad, curled strips, this is not a deal. It is a lesson in what budget really means in the processed meat aisle. Number 10. No name. The bright yellow label. The no-nonsense branding. The implicit promise that you are cutting out the marketing and just getting the product. That story works for canned tomatoes. It does not work for bacon. No-name bacon is Loblaw's entry-level product, and the formulation reflects that positioning precisely. The ingredient list is the same industrial playbook as every other budget brand on this list. Pork, water, salt, sugar, sodium phosphate, sodium erythorbate, sodium nitrite, smoke. No Name is not a different product from the premium lines. It is the same product with a lower quality threshold and a lower price point to match. The pork bellies that go into No Name are the ones that did not meet the grade for President's Choice. That is how private label tiering works. The best raw material goes into the premium house brand. What is left goes into the budget line. Both are produced for the same parent company, Loblaw, which controls over 30% of all grocery retail in Canada. The strips are thinner, the fat content is higher, the cook-down is more dramatic, and you are still paying for water and phosphates by the gram. If you are buying no-name bacon because you think you are getting the same product without the branding, you are not. You are getting a product that was designed from the start to hit a price point, and everything about it, the cut, the cure, the slice thickness, reflects that single priority. Number 9. Compliments. Sobeys' house brand operates on the same logic as No Name, different retailer, same formula. In the Narcity taste test, Compliments bacon was noted for shriveling into thin little pieces after frying. That shrinkage tells you everything about the water content before it hit the pan. The slices cooked down so dramatically that one reviewer suggested they would work best as bacon bits, not as actual strips of bacon. That is a remarkable thing to say about a product that was sold to you as strips of bacon. The ingredient list follows the same template: pork, water, salt, the phosphate system, the erythorbate, the nitrite. The sodium phosphate is doing the same job here that it does in every other industrial bacon. It binds water into the muscle tissue so the package weighs more, and the manufacturer pays less per unit of actual pork. When that water cooks out, the strip collapses. You are not imagining that your bacon used to be bigger. It was. You just used to be paying for pork. Now you are paying for pork-flavored water held together with chemistry. Number 8. Selection. Metro's house brand. Same model as the others. The packaging is clean. The price is competitive, and the ingredient list reads like a photocopy of every other brand on this list. What makes selection worth isolating is the context. Metro is the third largest grocery retailer in Canada, operating primarily in Ontario and Quebec. Together with Loblaw and Empire, which owns Sobeys, these three companies control a dominant share of all grocery retail in the country. When that much bacon flows through that few supply chains, the incentive is always the same. Maximize the weight of the package, minimize the cost of what is inside it, and rely on the consumer, never flipping it over. Selection Bacon delivers on that formula. The sodium content per serving sits in the same range as the other house brands, between 300 and 400 milligrams for 2 cooked slices. That is before you have salted your eggs, before you have buttered your toast, before lunch. One breakfast, and you have used up a significant chunk of your daily sodium budget on a product that is mostly water and fat, with enough chemical assistance to look and taste like something more. Number 7. Maple Leaf Original. This is where the list shifts from house brands to national names, and where the gap between branding and reality becomes harder to ignore. Maple Leaf Foods is Canada's largest consumer protein company, over $3 billion in annual revenue. They own both the Maple Leaf and Schneider's brands, giving them roughly 35% of the Canadian prepared meat market. That is not a company competing on quality. That is a company competing on scale, distribution, and shelf space. The Maple Leaf Original Bacon ingredient list is now familiar. Pork, water, salt, sugar, sodium phosphate, sodium erythorbate, sodium nitrite, smoke. The company itself has confirmed that its products typically contain 100 to 200 parts per million of sodium nitrite. Sodium nitrite is the ingredient that makes this conversation serious. In 2015, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classified all processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, meaning there is sufficient evidence that it causes cancer in humans. The same classification as tobacco and asbestos, not the same level of risk, but the same strength of evidence. A comprehensive study from Queen's University Belfast went further. When researchers isolated studies that specifically tested processed meat containing sodium nitrite, the evidence of a link with colorectal cancer jumped from roughly half of studies to 65%, almost 2/3. Those researchers concluded that a distinction should now be made between nitrite-treated and nitrite-free processed meat, because the risk profiles are meaningfully different. Every major bacon brand on Canadian shelves uses sodium nitrite. None of them are required to tell you that on the front of the pack. And then there is the history. In 2008, Maple Leaf Foods was at the center of the worst foodborne illness outbreak in modern Canadian history. Listeria contamination from a Toronto processing plant caused 57 confirmed cases and was linked to the deaths of between 20 and 23 Canadians, depending on the source. Nearly 80% of those who were infected lived in long-term care homes or were in hospitals that served the contaminated deli meats. An independent investigation found that evidence of contamination had been available months before the outbreak, but there was insufficient monitoring and no legal obligation to report it. Maple Leaf apologized, paid up to $27 million to settle class action lawsuits, and invested heavily in food safety infrastructure. That is to their credit. But the outbreak happened because of the exact conditions that industrial-scale processing creates: high volume, centralized facilities, and a regulatory system that at the time relied on voluntary reporting. The system has been improved since 2008. The question is whether the improvements are enough for the scale at which this company operates. Number 6. Schneider's Classic Cut. The heritage packaging. The tagline about decades of craft experience. The language about hand-hanging and hardwood smoking. It reads like a product from a small batch smokehouse in the Kitchener countryside, or JM. Schneider started the business in 1890. Here is what the label actually says: pork, water, salt, sodium phosphate, sugar, sodium erythorbate, sodium nitrite, smoke. That is the same ingredient list as the Maple Leaf Original entry above it on this list. And that is not a coincidence. Schneider's has been owned by Maple Leaf Foods since 2003. When Maple Leaf acquired it from Smithfield Foods for over $500 million Canadian. The two brands are produced by the same company through the same supply chain infrastructure under the same corporate quality standards. The heritage story is real in the brand's history. It is not reflected in what is inside the package today. When you are paying a premium for Schneider's over Maple Leaf, you are paying for the name. The contents come from the same place. 2 slices of cooked Schneider's Classic Cut deliver roughly 300 milligrams of sodium and the same sodium nitrite load as any other conventional bacon on this shelf. The craft language is marketing. The ingredient list is chemistry. Number 5. Maple Leaf Natural Selections. This is the line people reach for when they have decided to do better. The word natural is right there on the package. It feels like a step up. It is designed to feel like a step up. Read the ingredients. Pork, water, salt, smoke, then the qualifying phrase. May contain sugar, sodium phosphate, cultured celery extract, potassium chloride, sodium erythorbate, dextrose, spice extract, sodium nitrite. That may contain language means the formulation varies between products in the line. Some versions use sodium nitrite directly. Others use cultured celery extract, which is a plant-derived source of nitrate that converts to nitrite during processing. Maple Leaf themselves have confirmed that their natural line contains 100 to 200 parts per million of nitrite, approximately 10% less than their conventional cured products. That is a reduction, but it is not an elimination. You are still consuming nitrite. The mechanism is different. The compound arriving in your body is the same. Research has not yet established that nitrites from vegetable powder are better for you than added nitrites. The natural label addresses the source of the preservative. It does not address the preservative itself. Number 4. Schneider's Thick Cut Maple Bacon. At a higher price point than the Classic Cut, this product leans hard into the premium positioning. Thick Cut. Canadian maple syrup. The packaging practically smells like a weekend morning at the cottage. The ingredient list includes pork, water, salt, sugars including sugar, molasses, and maple syrup, sodium phosphate, sodium erythorbate, natural maple flavor, sodium nitrite, and smoke. Notice the sugars. This product contains 3 separate sweeteners plus a natural maple flavor, which is an industrially produced compound designed to trigger the taste of maple without requiring significant amounts of actual syrup. That is 4 sweetness signals on a single label for a product most people think of as savory. The maple syrup in the ingredient list is real, but it appears after salt and alongside molasses, which means the quantity is not driving the experience. The flavor compound is, and the sodium nitrite is still there. At a premium price with premium imagery, you are buying the same preservative system as the budget brands with added sugar and a maple story layered on top. Number 3. Schneider's Fully Cooked Bacon. Pre-cooked and ready in 10 seconds, according to the packaging. The convenience is real. So is what the convenience is covering up. The ingredients include pork, water, salt, sugar, smoke flavor, sodium phosphate, sodium erythorbate, sodium nitrite, and smoke. Notice the addition of smoke flavor alongside actual smoke. That is a manufactured flavor compound added on top of whatever actual smoking process the product underwent, when a product needs both real smoke and artificial smoke flavor. That tells you the primary process is not delivering enough flavor on its own. Pre-cooked bacon is processed twice, once during the initial cure and cook, and again when you reheat it. Each heating cycle increases the formation of nitrosamines, compounds that the WHO classifies as probable carcinogens. Frying bacon at high temperatures is specifically identified in the research as producing elevated nitrosamine levels compared to other cooking methods. When you are reheating a product that was already cooked, you are stacking thermal cycles. That is not a safety verdict. It is a chemistry fact. At around $8 to $10 for a small package of pre-cooked strips. The per gram cost is dramatically higher than raw bacon. You are paying a premium for a product that is more processed, more thermally cycled, and more reliant on flavor engineering than anything else in the bacon aisle. Number 2. Maple Leaf Ready Crisp. Same concept as the Schneider's Fully Cooked entry. Same parent company. Same fundamental product. Different label. Maple Leaf Ready Crisp was launched as a convenience product, and it delivers convenience. What it also delivers is a product that has been cooked, processed, and packaged in a way that maximizes shelf life and minimizes preparation, while using the same sodium nitrite system that every conventional product on this list uses. The strips are thin, the flavor is uniform, the texture is consistent. That consistency is the point. It is also the problem. When a bacon product tastes exactly the same every time, that is not craft. That is industrial process control. The natural variation that comes from different cuts, different fat marbling, different smoke exposure, has been engineered out. What is left is a uniform delivery system for salt, smoke flavor, and nitrite-cured protein. A system optimized for a 10-second microwave window, not for what bacon is supposed to taste like. Number 1. Greenfield Natural Meat Co. Bacon. And before the comments erupt, yes, this is the brand people buy when they have already stopped trusting the standard range. That is exactly why it sits at number 1 on this list. Because the gap between the marketing and the reality is wider here than on any other product we have covered. Greenfield Natural Meat Co. positions itself as the ethical upgrade. Raised without antibiotics. No artificial ingredients. Humanely raised. Gestation crate free. Carbon neutral. The packaging reads like a manifesto from a small family farm. Here is what the packaging does not tell you on the front. Greenfield Natural Meat Co. is wholly owned by Maple Leaf Foods, the same company that makes every Maple Leaf and Schneider's product on this list. The same $3 billion corporation. The same supply chain infrastructure. The same parent company behind the 2008 Listeria outbreak. The brand was created to capture the premium conscious consumer who has already decided not to buy Maple Leaf. The label says no nitrate or nitrite added. Then, in smaller text, it says except for those naturally occurring in sea salt and cultured celery extract. Cultured celery extract is a concentrated source of naturally occurring nitrate. During the curing process, bacteria convert that nitrate into nitrite. The same nitrite. The same compound that the WHO evidence links to colorectal cancer. The same compound that Queen's University Belfast researchers found in 65% of studies, showing a cancer link with processed meat. The label distinction is a regulatory loophole. The chemistry is the same. At around $10 to $14 per package, you are paying a significant premium for a product that delivers the same preservative through a different source, manufactured by the same corporation that makes the budget brands, marketed with language designed to make you believe you have left that system behind. You have not. You have just paid more to stay in it. Now, here is what to buy instead. And the best options are not necessarily more expensive. They just require you to know what to look for. Number 1 recommendation. Du Breton Organic Bacon. This is a Quebec-based family-run company now in its 4th generation, and it is the cleanest bacon you can reliably find in a Canadian supermarket. The ingredient list for their organic bacon reads: organic pork, water, sea salt, cultured celery powder, organic cane sugar, organic spices, smoke. Their sugar-free variant is even cleaner: organic pork, water, sea salt, fruit and spice extracts, natural smoke. No sodium nitrite added directly. No sodium phosphate. No sodium erythorbate. No smoke flavor compounds. No artificial anything. The pork is certified organic, certified humane, raised without antibiotics, and sourced from Canadian farms where the animals are crate-free and fed a non-GMO vegetarian diet. Du Breton holds multiple certifications, including Canada Organic, Certified Humane, and Global Animal Partnership. Those are not marketing claims on the front of a package. Those are independent, audited standards. At around $11 to $14 per 250 grams at Metro, Sobeys, Loblaws, and health food stores, it costs more per gram than the budget brands. But you are not paying for water weight. You are not paying for sodium phosphate. You are paying for actual pork from a company that can tell you where it came from. Cook it and the difference is immediate. Less shrinkage, cleaner flavor, no chemical aftertaste. It smells like smoked pork, not like a processing facility. Number 2 recommendation. Your local independent butcher. Every major Canadian city and most smaller towns have at least one butcher who cures and smokes their own bacon on site. They start with whole pork bellies. They control the cure. They control the smoke. And they can tell you exactly what went into the product because they made it that morning. No gas flushing. No modified atmosphere packaging. No facility 3 provinces away. The bacon was made hours ago, not weeks ago. Services like True Local connect Canadians directly with local farms and butchers who produce small batch bacon from heritage breeds and pasture-raised pork. Their reviews consistently describe thick-cut, properly smoked bacon with genuine wood smoke flavor and no need for artificial flavor compounds. Independent butchers and direct-from-farm services typically charge between $10 and $18 per 500 grams. That sounds like more. But when the bacon does not shrink to half its size in the pan, because it was not pumped full of water before it was weighed, your actual cost per serving of edible protein comes out comparable. And you can ask questions. What cut is this from? What is in the cure? How long was it smoked? If the person behind the counter can answer those questions, you are buying real food. If they cannot, keep looking. Number 3 recommendation. Make it yourself. A whole pork belly from a butcher costs between $8 and $14 per kilogram in most Canadian cities. You pick the quality. You control the salt. You choose whether to use nitrite or skip it entirely. A basic dry cure is salt, sugar, and whatever spices you want. Rub it on, refrigerate for 5 to 7 days, rinse, dry, and either smoke it or slow roast it in your oven. The entire process requires no special equipment. You end up with a slab of bacon that contains exactly what you put into it, and nothing else. No sodium phosphate, no erythorbate, no mystery compounds. And once you slice it and cook it, you will understand why people describe the difference as night and day. Because when bacon is made from actual pork with an actual cure and actual smoke, it does not taste like the strips you have been buying from the supermarket. It tastes like what bacon was before the industry got hold of it. A simple rule that cuts through most of the noise. Look for bacon where the ingredient list starts with pork and where you can count the ingredients on one hand. If sodium phosphate is on the list, the product contains injected water that you are paying meat prices for. If sodium nitrite is on the list, you are consuming the compound that the WHO evidence has linked to colorectal cancer in 65% of the studies that specifically tested it. If the brand is owned by a company with a $3 billion revenue line, the craft story on the packaging is a marketing decision, not a production decision. The bacon aisle in Canada is controlled by a very small number of very large companies. Maple Leaf Foods alone, through its Maple Leaf, Schneider's, and Greenfield Natural Meat Co. brands, occupies a dominant share of the shelf. When one corporation makes the budget option, the mid-range option, and the premium natural option, the competition you think you are seeing is not competition. It is portfolio management. You are choosing between products from the same company at different price points, each designed to capture a different customer who thinks they are making a different choice. The European Union has already tightened regulations on nitrite levels in processed meat in direct response to the cancer evidence. Canada has not followed. Health Canada's current position is that nitrites are permitted at established levels. The regulatory framework has not changed in response to the WHO classification or the Queen's University Belfast findings. The label is not a guarantee. It is a starting point. You put bacon on the table for your family every week, over months and years. The sodium, the nitrites, and the water you are paying for add up. The supermarkets are counting on you not flipping the package over. Now you have. Tell us in the comments which brand you have been buying and whether you are going to change after watching this. If this was useful, hit like, share it with someone who still grabs the same pack on autopilot every Saturday morning, and subscribe so you do not miss the next breakdown. See you in the next one.